Is this what's silently holding your life back? We often dismiss the quiet whispers our bodies send us, especially the ones that hint at something deeper, something systemic happening within. 99% of people miss the final, most crucial connection between these subtle signs, and overlooking it can change everything. Body's blueprint. It's a profound and almost humbling experience to truly listen to what your body is trying to communicate. We live in an age of immense external noise, a constant barrage of information, demands, and distractions that pull our focus outward. And in this process, we can become disconnected from the most intricate and intelligent system we will ever know, our own biology. The human body is a masterpiece of self regulation and communication. It doesn't have a voice in the way we typically think of one, but it speaks a language of its own, a language of sensations, of energy levels, of subtle shifts and changes. This language is not designed to be alarming or to induce fear. It's designed to inform. It's a continuous feedback loop, a gentle series of nudges guiding us toward balance, toward homeostasis. When we feel a pang of thirst, it's a simple, clear signal to hydrate. When we feel the heaviness of fatigue, it's an undeniable prompt to rest and recover. These are the basic, fundamental dialogues we have with our bodies every single day, and most of the time we listen without even thinking about it. But what happens when the signals become more nuanced, more complex? What happens when they are not as straightforward as thirst or hunger? This is where true awareness comes into play. The body's defense systems, the intricate network that works tirelessly to protect us, often give us early, subtle warnings when something is amiss. These are not loud, blaring alarms. They are more like quiet memos, gentle suggestions that warrant our attention. Think about the feeling of persistent, unexplained fatigue. It's easy to dismiss, isn't it? We blame our busy schedules, our lack of sleep, our stress levels. We tell ourselves, I just need to push through, or I'll catch up on rest this weekend. But what if that fatigue is not just a consequence of your lifestyle, but a communication from your circulatory system that it's struggling to meet the demands placed upon it? What if the energy deficit you're feeling is a direct reflection of a deeper metabolic or physiological imbalance? This is the shift in mindset that is so crucial for long term health. It's about moving from a reactive stance where we wait for a loud, undeniable symptom to force us into action to a proactive listening stance. This requires a certain level of presence and mindfulness in our daily lives. It means taking a moment to check in with ourselves, to notice the subtle shifts in our well being. It's about cultivating an inner literacy, the ability to read and understand the unique language of your own body. For example, a persistent dry cough can be easily attributed to allergies or a lingering cold. But when it becomes a chronic companion, when it seems to have no clear cause, it could be a signal from your pulmonary system, perhaps related to fluid dynamics within the body that are not immediately obvious. Similarly, swelling in the ankles or legs at the end of the day might be dismissed as a consequence of standing too long or eating a salty meal. But when it becomes a recurring theme, it's a message about fluid retention, a clue about the efficiency of your heart and your body's ability to manage its internal environment. The body doesn't send these signals to create anxiety. It sends them to empower us with information. It's an invitation to become a more engaged partner in our own health, to ask deeper questions, and to seek understanding before a small imbalance has the chance to become a significant problem. Learning to honor this intricate communication is not just a strategy for health, it's a profound act of self respect. It's an acknowledgement of the incredible intelligence that resides within us, working around the clock to keep us thriving. So, how do we begin to tune in? It starts with simple, consistent observation. It's the practice of noticing, without judgment, the patterns in your own life. How does your energy fluctuate throughout the day? Are there specific triggers that leave you feeling breathless or depleted? Do you notice changes in your sleep quality, your appetite, or your cognitive clarity? These are not trivial details. They are data points. They are clues in the beautiful, complex story of your health. When we start to pay attention to these things, we move beyond the simplistic model of just treating symptoms. Instead, we start to see the interconnectedness of our body's systems. We realize that a symptom in one area may be a reflection of an imbalance in a completely different part of the body. This holistic understanding is where true, sustainable health is born. It's not about becoming a hypochondriac, worrying about every little ache and pain. On the contrary, it's about developing a calm, confident, and informed relationship with your body. It's about trusting its wisdom and having the courage to listen when it speaks. This is the foundation upon which all health and vitality are built, a quiet, powerful partnership that, once cultivated, will serve you for a lifetime. Silent signals. Let's delve deeper into these signals, these subtle communications that we so often overlook in the hustle of our daily existence. They are not dramatic, life interrupting events, but rather quiet, persistent whispers that can easily be drowned out. One of the most frequently ignored is shortness of breath, particularly when it's not during intense exercise. We might find ourselves feeling a little winded after climbing a flight of stairs that used to be effortless, or even while simply carrying groceries from the car. The immediate, almost reflexive response is to attribute it to being out of shape or perhaps gaining a little weight or even just having an off day. We rationalize it, we normalize it. We tell ourselves it's a natural part of aging or a consequence of a sedentary job, but this sensation, this air hunger, is a profound signal from the body. It's a direct communication about the delicate balance of oxygen exchange and circulatory efficiency. When the heart's pumping mechanism is not functioning at its peak capacity, it can lead to a backup of pressure in the blood vessels that return from the lungs. This can cause fluid to leak into the lungs themselves, a condition known as pulmonary edema. This fluid occupies the space that should be reserved for air, making it more difficult to breathe, thus triggering that feeling of breathlessness. Another one of these silent signals is the experience of persistent coughing or wheezing, especially when it produces a white or pink-tinged mucus. Again, the mind immediately jumps to the most common culprits: allergies, a common cold, bronchitis, or perhaps irritation from environmental factors. But if this cough has no clear beginning and no foreseeable end, and it seems to worsen when you're lying down at night, it's a sign that warrants a deeper level of inquiry. This particular symptom is closely related to the shortness of breath we just discussed. The fluid that can accumulate in the lungs not only makes it harder to breathe, but it also acts as an irritant, triggering a chronic cough reflex as the body tries to clear the airways. The presence of a frothy, pink-tinged sputum is a particularly specific indicator that this isn't just a simple respiratory issue. It suggests that small amounts of blood may be leaking from the capillaries into the air sacs, a direct consequence of the increased pressure within the pulmonary circulation. It's a clear and direct message that there is a hydraulic issue, a problem with the fluid management system of the body, and the heart is often at the center of that system. Then there is the subtle, almost insidious buildup of fluid in the body, which often manifests as swelling or edema in the legs, ankles, and feet. We might notice that our shoes feel tighter at the end of the day, or that our socks leave deep indentations in our skin. This is another symptom that is remarkably easy to explain away. We might blame it on a long flight, standing for too many hours at work, or consuming a salty meal the night before. And while those factors can certainly contribute to temporary fluid retention, a persistent and symmetrical swelling in the lower extremities is a different matter entirely. When the heart's right ventricle isn't pumping with enough force, it can cause blood to back up in the veins. This increased pressure can force fluid out of the capillaries and into the surrounding tissues. Gravity naturally pulls this excess fluid down to the lowest parts of the body, which is why the ankles and feet are so commonly affected. In more advanced stages, this swelling can even progress up into the abdomen, a condition known as ascites, or even cause a sudden, noticeable weight gain over a very short period. This isn't fat gain, it's water weight, a direct and measurable consequence of the body's inability to manage its fluid balance effectively due to a compromised pump. These are not isolated random occurrences. They are interconnected pieces of a puzzle, and they are all pointing to the same central theme: the heart's ability to circulate blood effectively is being challenged. Furthermore, let's consider the pervasive and often debilitating experience of fatigue, not just the normal tiredness after a long day, but a profound and persistent sense of exhaustion that isn't relieved by a good night's sleep. When the heart is unable to pump a sufficient amount of oxygen rich blood to meet the body's metabolic demands, the body intelligently redirects blood flow away from less vital areas, such as the limbs and muscles, and prioritizes the brain and other essential organs. This leaves the muscles deprived of the fuel they need to function optimally, resulting in a deep and unwavering sense of tiredness and weakness. Simple, everyday tasks that once required no thought, like making the bed, taking a shower, or walking to the mailbox, can suddenly feel like monumental efforts. This isn't a sign of laziness or a lack of motivation. It is a physiological reality. The body is in a state of energy conservation because its primary delivery system is compromised. Paired with this fatigue, many people also experience a noticeable decrease in their ability to concentrate and a feeling of mental fogginess or confusion. This is because the brain, despite being a prioritized organ, can also be affected by the reduced blood flow and oxygenation, leading to cognitive symptoms that can be just as disruptive as the physical ones. It's the body's way of signaling that its energy supply chain is under duress, and it's a signal that should never be ignored. Vital rhythms. Now let's turn our attention inward to the very beat of life itself, the rhythm of the heart. The heart is not just a pump, it's a sophisticated conductor of an intricate electrical symphony. And when this symphony is disturbed, the body lets us know. A very common yet often unsettling sign is the experience of a rapid or irregular heartbeat, which doctors refer to as palpitations. This can feel like a fluttering, a racing, a pounding, or even a skipped beat in the chest. For many, this sensation can come out of nowhere, creating a wave of anxiety and a sudden acute awareness of their own heartbeat, something we normally never notice. The natural response is to wonder if one is having a panic attack or to attribute it to stress or too much caffeine. While those can certainly be triggers, a persistent or frequent experience of palpitations can be the heart's way of compensating for a deeper issue. When the heart muscle is weakened or damaged, it may beat faster to try to circulate the same amount of blood through the body. The heart is trying to make up for a decrease in efficiency with an increase in speed. Alternatively, the structural changes that can occur in a failing heart can disrupt the organ's delicate electrical pathways, leading to arrhythmias, irregular heartbeats that can be both disorienting and dangerous. It's a direct signal that the heart's fundamental mechanics and internal communication systems are being stressed. Closely related to these rhythmic disturbances is the experience of chest pain or discomfort, often described as angina. It's important to clarify that this is not always the dramatic, crushing chest pain that is often depicted in movies. It can be far more subtle. It might feel like a pressure, a tightness, a squeezing, or an aching sensation in the center of the chest. It can sometimes be mistaken for heartburn or indigestion, as the discomfort can radiate to the shoulders, arms, neck, jaw, or back. This sensation is a direct cry for help from the heart muscle itself. It's a signal of ischemia, which means that a part of the heart is not receiving enough oxygen rich blood to do its job. In the context of heart failure, this can happen because the heart's own demand for oxygen has increased as it works harder to pump against resistance, or because of underlying blockages in the coronary arteries that supply the heart muscle. When you exert yourself, the heart's demand for oxygen goes up, and if the supply can't meet that demand, it triggers this characteristic pain or pressure. It is one of the most direct and serious communications the body can send, an urgent memo that the heart's own fuel supply is critically low. Ignoring this is like ignoring the oil light in your car. You might be able to keep driving for a little while, but the risk of catastrophic failure increases with every mile. Another cluster of signals revolves around appetite and digestion. Many people are surprised to learn that their digestive system can be one of the first places to reflect a problem with their heart. A persistent lack of appetite or a feeling of nausea can be an early indicator of congestive heart failure. When the heart isn't pumping effectively, the body, as we discussed, diverts blood flow away from less critical systems, and the digestive tract is one of them. This reduced blood flow can slow down the entire digestive process, leading to a feeling of being full even after eating very little. It can also cause a general feeling of queasiness. Furthermore, the fluid buildup we spoke of earlier doesn't just happen in the legs and feet, it can also occur in the liver and the intestines, causing them to become congested and swollen. This abdominal swelling can put pressure on the stomach, further contributing to a loss of appetite and a feeling of bloating and discomfort. It's another example of how interconnected the body systems truly are. A problem that originates in the heart can manifest as a collection of symptoms that at first glance seem to be purely gastrointestinal in nature. This is why it's so critical to look at the body as a whole, to see the patterns and connections rather than just focusing on one isolated symptom. Finally, we must talk about the more subtle but equally important mental and emotional signals. A heightened state of anxiety or a feeling of restlessness, particularly at night, can be a surprising symptom of a struggling heart. The physical discomfort of breathlessness when lying down can make it nearly impossible to find a comfortable position for sleep, leading to a feeling of being on high alert. Many people find they need to prop themselves up with multiple pillows just to be able to breathe more easily. This physical distress naturally triggers a psychological stress response. The brain senses the body's struggle for oxygen and can interpret it as a life threatening situation, flooding the system with stress hormones that create feelings of anxiety and a sense of impending doom. Furthermore, as we touched on earlier, reduced blood flow to the brain can lead to impaired cognitive function. This might manifest as memory problems, confusion, or a general difficulty in concentrating. Family members may be the first to notice these changes, observing that their loved one seems more forgetful or disoriented than usual. This cognitive decline is a direct result of the brain not receiving the steady supply of oxygen and nutrients it needs to function at its best. It's a sobering reminder that the health of the heart is inextricably linked to the health of the mind. These are not just feelings, they are physiological responses to a systemic crisis, and they deserve our utmost attention and compassion. We have walked through the quiet corridors of our own biology, listening to the subtle whispers and the more urgent calls our bodies send us. These signs, the breathlessness, the fatigue, the swelling, the palpitations, are not your enemy. They are not punishments, they are messengers, data points offered by an infinitely intelligent system that is working tirelessly for your survival. To ignore them is to turn your back on the most profound partnership you will ever have. Embracing this awareness is not about living in fear, it is the exact opposite. It is about living in a state of empowered grace, in a deep and trusting dialogue with your own life force. It's about meeting your body's signals, not with panic, but with curiosity and respect, allowing them to guide you back to a state of balance and vibrant health. Which one of these quiet signals made you stop and think? Be honest, has your body been trying to tell you something you've been too busy to hear?